All right, let's draw a cross-section of how a cave and its features form. This is a cross-section, so we're going to be looking at it from the side. I'm going to start out by putting in a first layer like this. And the top layer is going to be shale in this case. And then there's a layer below that. This is our limestone. This is where the cave is going to form. I'm just going to put in some of these symbols. And then below this is going to be a third layer that will just make sandstone. And just to make it clear, this is a cross section. I'm just going to put a little side of a house on here just to kind of show we're looking at everything from the side here. All right. So let's say that we have a rainfall, and so I'm just going to put some things in the sky here to represent the rain falling down. And in this case here, I've intentionally drawn it so it's a little bit lower in this area so that some water might pond here. I'm going to fill this in with a little bit of water just on the surface. There's shale below it, so shale isn't very good at absorbing water, so maybe none of that absorbs. But what if instead of just shale below, we had some small joints in the rock? I'm just going to draw that in like this. And then in black, once again, put in where that joint is going into the ground. Just a little crack of some width in the ground that's letting this water pass through. So this water is then going to be able to go through the layer of shale and get into this layer of limestone. And when it gets into this layer of limestone, that's when the dissolution starts to take place. So the limestone actually gets dissolved away by the slightly acidic rainwater that's falling, ponding on the ground, and then going through this joint and into the ground. So now I'm going to grab my eraser, see if I have a medium eraser, and it's essentially just going to erase out this area here. And that is where the cave is going to be. So now I'll go back to my black, and I'm just going to draw in the cave. Of course, not the whole thing might get dissolved away, but it's not going to dissolve away the sandstone, so you can't go lower than the sandstone. And this can be an irregular shape, but I'll just put in something like this. So now that we have this coming through, the rainwater, and I'm just going to change colors to show what the rainwater does in the cave. The rainwater might drip along the top of the cave and then finally drip down in this location here. And it might drip over this way and drip down in this location here. In addition, there might be other, I'll just put this on instead of a crack, I'll just put it on as a line, but there might be other joints through the rocks. I'll extend that to the top of the cave here. There might be other joints through the rocks where the water is able to come through. I'll just put on a couple drops of water along there just to kind of show that that's a joint in the rock that's allowing the water to come through. And then once it gets into the cave, it's just going to drip from the top of the cave to the floor of the cave. And this could be happening in other places too, depending what the geometry looks like. But we could be having some drips along the side of the cave here as well. But the point is, where those things are dripping down, that's where we would expect our stalagmites and stalactites to form. So the stalactites are growing from the top of the cave downward. So this is where we might expect to get stalactites forming. maybe just like against the wall of the cave here, against the wall of the cave here. And that's where new limestone is precipitating. So we had this whole layer of limestone. It got dissolved away by the rainwater to form this cave. And then now we're having new limestone precipitate in the cave as stalagmites and stalactites. So I'm just going to draw some more of those in. They can be, of course, very irregular. Sometimes they come together to form just one continuous piece, but they kind of thin out in the middle here. And then we get all of these cool features that are formed in the cave. So let's go ahead and label some of these things. So this is my slightly acidic rain up here. In blue, this is my shale here, my limestone, sandstone, my joints, joint over here. Oh. The cave. And then, of course, the stalagmites and stalactites. So the stalactites are down and the stalagmites are up. So. And of course, the place that is getting this new calcium carbonate to form these rocks in the cave is from this part of this upper layer that's left here. The water is coming down, part of this upper layer is being dissolved, and then that's dripping through the cave, and that's where it's precipitating out. So I'll just put in the cave, that's dissolution or dissolving. Cave represents dissolution, and the stalagmites and stalactites represent a process where new rocks are being formed that we call precipitation. And that's good for the narrated sketch for this week.